A very good evening and welcome to Kivumbi 2022 right here on Mombasa Road. This is KTN News, and of course we are broadcasting live from our headquarters, and this is the beginning of the great show today on Kivumbi 2022 because it's a political season, and soon you'll be seeing politicians around the country and they will be trying to convince you to vote for them ahead of the 2023 general election, which will be held in August of next year. A very exciting show tonight for you. We have all the numbers right from 1992 to 1997, 2002, when the first proper coalition was crafted in this country. We'll be telling you all that. Plus, we have a host of other factors that we're considering tonight, especially on coalitions, alliances, and of course mergers. If it's possible for a presidential candidate to go it alone in the next general election and win. We are looking at all that, and I have my colleagues right here, Sophia Wanuna. She'll be speaking to Martha Karua, but first let me hand over to Sophia for an insight of what to expect ahead of this program. Sophia?
Indeed, a very good evening, and it is that season of alignments and realignments in the political landscape in the country. As some coalitions are falling apart, others are beginning to take shape. And so tonight, Kivumbi 2022 explores the factors that inform how coalitions and alliances are built, and also could there be a common thread that connects them and could inform what we are likely to see play out in the 2022 election cycle, which has already commenced. I will be speaking shortly with the NAK Kenya party leader, Martha Karua. We'll also have with us tonight the registrar of political parties, and Rito, just trying to unpack what all of this portends going forward. Akisa.
Well, definitely, it is increasingly becoming more realistic to expect that the next government of Kenya shall be formed through coalitions, mergers and alliances. It is apparent that no political party will be going it alone or can manage to marshal the requisite 50% plus one votes to win an election. History teaches us that Kenyans vote along tribal lines, and if that history is anything to go by, nothing will change in the 2022 general election. So, of course, tonight from 10 p.m. to 11 p.m. we will be having a panel once again, just looking at what do we expect this particular political season. What pre-election pacts do we expect to see? I'll be having a conversation with Alutalala Mukwana, who's a lawyer, Joshua Kipto, who's a speaker in Nandi County, as well as Peter Kaluma, who's a member of Parliament, Homa Bay Town. Be sure to stay with us. This is Kivumbi 2022. I'd like us now to begin with a report that my colleague Emmanuel Tor worked on. Just take a look at the history of political mergers in this country. Take a look.
In less than 12 months, Kenyans will be heading to the polls. Political figures are now positioning themselves for State House through alliances and coalitions. Since the year 2002, at least 4 major coalitions have been crafted and used in this journey. The National Rainbow Coalition, NAK, that ushered in retired President Mwai Kibaki in 2002, Coalition for Reform and Democracy, CORD, in 2013, Jubilee Coalition and the National Super Alliance, NASA, in 2017.
Hiyo NASA kazi yake ilikwisha, lakini huko mbele tutakuja pamoja.
Muungano wetu uko tayari. Muungano wetu ni wa Wakenya wote. So we don't need any alliance, we don't need any coalition. Hii miungano inaendeshwa na watu wenye fikra ya ukabila.
The Jubilee Party, which has enjoyed a massive support of the ODM party since the handshake between President Uhuru Kenyatta and ODM leader Raila Odinga, is keen on returning the favor in 2022. Talks are abound, and meeting after meeting with this end in mind have been held.
Jubilee sasa, we are rolling out, and we're going to have town hall meetings, we're going to have grassroots elections, we're going to have structures on the ground, because we want that party to come into coalition with ODM.
In 2013, to the run-up was 2013 election, TNA and URP, our famous Afraha meeting, was on the 4th of December 2012 for an election that was in March. 4 months.
However, coalitions have had a myriad of challenges, including choosing a presidential candidate to fly the coalition's flag. Nairobi Senator Johnson Sakaja, who was the then chairman of the National Alliance TNA, explains the intrigues before President Uhuru Kenyatta was fronted for the 2013 general election.
It was very difficult for William Ruto to go to tell his people that, you know what, I might have to team up with so-and-so and I will not be the candidate. Yet your people believe in you, because you find in many places their world begins and ends where they are. First, start telling your people there's a possibility that you will not be the candidate.
Political pundits have argued that it is impossible to form a government in Kenya without a coalition of political parties. But what is the reason behind this?
There is no one candidate or one political party that can get a 50% plus one to form an administration.
Political pundits, however, argue that the considerations and the reasons for parties to come together should be on ideologies and beliefs.
We don't have strong foundational parties that can establish some type of financial stability in this country.
Unfortunately, our parties still remain very tribal. And so we brought those parties together. And that time our slogan, I remember that time I was leading the strategy team, was Tuko Pamoja. And we translated it to all languages. Yeah, you go to Central and tell them Tuhamwe. You go to Western, you say Kurialala. You go to Kalenjin and you say Kimiki Bagenge. The Maasai is Kitite Nebo.
And with the political activities just settling in, the 2022 race is promising to be the toughest yet in Kenya's political history. Already there are signs that it will be a two-horse race between DP Ruto and one of the former NASA principals who are now coalescing under One Kenya Alliance.
It is UDA versus any other structure that will format itself a year to the election.
When you say that you are a strong candidate, you must have three important things. Number one, numbers. Number two, you have resources. Number three, you have a strategy.
However, politics is the art of possibility, and a third force may just be in the works. Emmanuel To, KTN News, Nairobi.
Right, I'll now hand it over to Ken Mijungu with the latest data.
Thank you very much, Akisa. And of course, the history of coalitions and mergers in this country go back in time, probably in the 60s when there was KADU, and then there was KANU, and then the history of multi-party democracy. And that's where I want to start, because that's 30 years ago. The political demography actually shows that there will be more young voters in the next general election than ever before. So I want to take you back 30 years ago, and we begin in 1992. But first, let me take you to 1991. That's when President Moi allowed constitutional changes that paved way for the multi-party democracy, and numerous opposition parties emerged shortly after 1992 after repealing of that section. Now, it was founded in August of 1991. I'm talking about the Forum for the Restoration of Democracy, and this, by any means and chance, was the greatest and the largest well-organized outfit post the multi-party democracy. So I'd like to take you to the Ford formations, and after the attempt to register the National Democratic Party, there was a fierce opposition critic of former Minister Oginga Odinga that helped the Forum for Restoration of Democracy together with 6 other oppositions. I'll be telling you about those results, but let me take you to October 13th, 1992, where the Ford party split into 2 after leaders failed to agree on one presidential candidate. Not a new phenomenon. We're actually seeing that happening all over. So we'll talk about that extensively with a guest later. But let me tell you about Ford Kenya, that was led by Jaramogi Oginga Odinga. Ford Asili, led by Kenneth Matiba. That was the time they were born. And of course, the Democratic Party, also another opposition party that was led by retired President Mwai Kibaki. With a splinter opposition, KANU easily won the presidential election. So that's where we start with our data tonight. And let's take a look at how that election was won because of lack of coalitions, or an attempt to a coalition that later split several Ford factions. So KANU was the winner of that election. And you can imagine at that time, in 1992, it only won with 1.9 million votes. The second, the runner-up was Ford Asili with about 1.3 million votes. Then we had the Democratic Party led by the retired President Mwai Kibaki at 1 million and about 30,000 votes. And lastly, Ford Kenya, which had split to Ford Asili, and all those parties at just a paltry 930 million votes. If you think about this, no political party currently will see these numbers because the voters have registered, and in fact there's a projection by the IEBC that there'll be about 6 million new voters registered. So those are the beginning numbers. We'll be telling you more about those numbers, but first let me take you now to Sophia Wanuna, who is about to speak to Martha Karua, one of the party leaders, that's NARC Kenya. Sophia?
All right, thank you very much, Ken Mijungu, for those numbers, breaking it down for